Hello, welcome to J Lowe Artist YouTube channel. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for drawing with me. Today we're going to be drawing with charcoal. We're going to be using white and black charcoal. They make them in a variety of softnesses, but I'm going to be using just a General's charcoal 4B and your soft General's white charcoal as well. We'll be drawing on gray paper. You can use construction paper. I'm using this XL Canson drawing paper that's kind of just a light gray. This is an acid-free, very nice gray paper, and you are welcome to use whatever you'd like because it's all about practice. It's all about learning styles and techniques and then developing some of your own styles. So let's get started. You should have a black and white charcoal, a kneaded eraser, and a cotton swab for blending.
The kneaded eraser you want to use is your oldest, rattiest kneaded eraser. Because we're using charcoal, the charcoal gets kind of picked up into it, and so now's the time you want to use that old eraser. First of all, let's figure out where everything's going to go. So our little elephant, you want it fairly big. So I'm going to have his backside just right here against the edge, and his head's going to be about up in here somewhere. That gives me this whole surface to work with. So his little head's going to be about right there somewhere. So that's about the size of his head. Then you've got his trunk hanging down there, kind of curves there. Remember, simple shapes. The ears are these little kind of half moon shapes. Try to draw as fast as you can, just because this is the part that your proportions and everything, you need a point of reference to begin with. Without that point of reference, you're kind of lost. So get it first. If it's too small, make it bigger. If it's too big, make it smaller. Get that point of reference in first. Some people like to start out with detail because that's the fun part. But without this, that fun part gets not so fun when you're halfway through it and you're like, oh, that was too big or too much. Then what I want to do is I want to pick out the lightest areas. And I'm just going to come in with my white charcoal, and I'm just going to throw in some of those light areas. Now, those would be the light gray areas. I can even say, well, some of his ear is a little lighter right in there. Maybe it's not quite as light as it is. If I go through and smudge it, smear it, that's going to tone it down some. So I'm just, with the side of my pencil, just throwing in some lighter areas. I can even block in like where the eye goes and come down and say, well, the eye is about right in there somewhere. I can just block that in. Here's his forehead. His, her, I don't know what it is. Some of you might know pachyderms a little bit more than I do. And I know that once I start adding dark to this, all this is going to kind of start to fade away into the background. So I'm not too worried about it. But this is just helping me to get my proportions. If it's not right, this can be easily changed. If I were to do this with just black charcoal, I might get stuck. What about the background? If it's really light, can I go through there and just do the background? Would that be helpful? It's up to you how you want to do this. But you need some experience. So that's what we're doing here. We're just giving you a little experience, a little practice. Try out some things. Ignore the elephant behind. So like the little part that's right there and it comes up there, you can ignore that if you want. If you wanted to put in the mother, you could. Again, it's totally up to you. Here's the weeds that they're walking through. If you want to put those in, more than welcome to. Then you analyze it. Okay, is everything in about the right place? Is there something I need to get rid of? Do I need to change something? And if it's looking pretty good to you, then you can switch over to the black now, because most of this is very dark in here. And once I get that black, I can smear it up in here, and I can use that black to get wrinkles and all sorts of things. So right now, you can start wherever you want to start. You can start in some of those darker areas. I like to start with the eye. So I'm just going to go in and just start with the eye. And I'm not exactly sure what's there, so I'm just going to do some little, I kind of know what elephant eyes look like. This is probably the most important part of the whole elephant, and all those little wrinkles and everything. So if we zoom into that, your little wrinkle under the eye, throw that in. Little wrinkles over the eye, throw that in. Whenever you're doing wrinkles too, especially like little elephant wrinkles, just leave out areas, and instead of maybe doing so much line, do little zigzags, little almost shake when you draw your line, so that it gives you some softer edges. Plus you'll get thick and thin, and that's a little more interesting. You can use the side of your pencil to shade with if you'd like. You can do little circles, you can go back and forth, however you want to do it. But you're going to notice immediately that you start getting these very strong contrasts. And that's what we want to get. We want to get those strong contrasts. And this is a very fast way of drawing, because all those grays are done. Whenever I life draw, I like to use this technique because it's so fast. And models have a tendency to move on you. That always bothers me a little bit, because I just get to doing it right and then they move. They shift their weight or something, and it's like, the light just changed, or your muscle just changed. And now I'm just picking out little shapes of dark and light. Oftentimes people tell me that they can't get good details with charcoal. And then I think, oh, you're not doing it right then, because you can get some awesome detail with charcoal. And like I say, it's fast. I'm trying to get as much charcoal out there as I can, because eventually I want to pick up all that charcoal and move it, manipulate it. Now, if you've got a cotton swab that you've already started using charcoal with, that might be a little helpful to you. One side you could use on the dark side, and the other side you can use on the white side. So again, Darth Vader, Yoda. So I can come in and just start blending some of that. And look how much light and dark you can get out of that. And if you really want it to pop, I can go in there and just lighten up some of that with my white charcoal. So some of those little wrinkles, I can come in and just touch just a couple little edges. All of a sudden, I've got this wonderful texture going on down in there. You can also take your kneaded eraser and go in and just erase a little bit back to the gray of the paper. Now, there's some very light grays in there. Once you load your charcoal onto your cotton swab, you can draw with it. You can start doing all those little light grays with your charcoal cotton swab. And that is going to go really fast too. Some of those really soft, subtle wrinkles you get with your cotton swab. Old people, wrinkly people, this is a fun technique to use. You get those little wrinkles and you get all that stuff in there fairly quickly. Once you get the head pretty well done, it's like anything else. You can kind of just go through and just block everything else in as fast as you can. Some of the little spots of the ear might be lost, so go ahead and let them get lost. You know, when in doubt, leave it out. So remember not to draw lines around everything. That's just boring. Let your edges take care of themselves. And they will. These little wrinkles across his body are almost like little contour lines. I think it's really hard to tell what belongs to the baby and what belongs to the mama as far as legs go. But I think this little part here belongs to the mama. This little part belongs to the baby. So I'd throw in all of this and leave out maybe some of that. And this, I think, is the back leg of the mama. So I'd leave that out too. A lot of this I'm going to just end up doing with my cotton swab. So I've got to get enough charcoal out there that I can use it like a well and pick up some of this with my cotton swab. Just like anything else, you're going to end up layering some of this in there. So you kind of add a little bit and then smear it, add a little more and smear it till it's about the way you want it. Good thing about this too is it lifts your hand up off the page, and so you're not smearing it with your hand. Notice how the black just really makes it pop. And then you add the white to it, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, that just explodes off the page. And those textures are really easy to get. You just add a little highlight to them, and boom, you've got it. Don't have a lot of time left. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you had fun. This is a fun way of drawing. Yes, you had fun? Good. Have you ever drawn this way before? Good place to sign it be, right down there at the bottom somewhere. Not right on the edge. Well, there's a ton more you can do with this. And again, it's just kind of practice. Hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you've had fun doing this. This is a great technique. Very fast. You can take this as far as you want it to go. So thanks for drawing with me. And I hope that you've learned something, had an enjoyable time. Art makes life better. Hope you have a lovely day.